Did you know that 62% of people believe the news they see is biased, but only 34% can recognize when they're being manipulated? That means a huge number of us are unknowingly influenced by the media, without even realizing it. In fact, media manipulation isn't just about fake news, it's a strategy, a carefully crafted method of shaping how we think, feel, and vote. In today's world, the news we see doesn't just inform us, it controls the conversation. You're about to dive deep into how the media has the power to twist political narratives, and how it affects everything from elections to global policies. From pushing certain agendas to manipulating emotions, the strategies used are often hidden right in front of us. Get ready for a journey through media tactics you probably never noticed, and how these tactics can change the way you see the world. The next chapters will reveal the truth behind the headlines and show you how to spot when the media is pulling the strings. Buckle up, what you're about to learn could completely change the way you consume news. Chapter 1: The Invisible Hand of Media, Shaping the Political Agenda. Media plays a significant role in shaping how we perceive political events. The agenda-setting theory, coined by Maxwell McCombs and Donald Shaw in 1972, argues that the media doesn't tell us what to think, but what to think about. For example, when the media focuses on one topic, like healthcare or immigration, they steer public discourse in that direction. This selective attention influences what becomes politically important. In 2016, during the US presidential election, media coverage of Donald Trump outpaced any other candidate, setting the political conversation around his persona, not just his policies. This created a narrative that painted Trump as the only candidate worth discussing. While Hillary Clinton was often the subject of negative coverage, Trump's media dominance positioned him as a force that could not be ignored. The sheer power of media outlets like Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC is evident when you consider that around 60% of Americans get their political news from these sources. This concentration means a small number of media companies decide what information reaches millions of viewers. Sometimes, the influence of media is subtle. When stories about national security dominate, it directs the political conversation toward fear and urgency. Politicians and policymakers know this and leverage it to push for specific agendas. If media outlets begin pushing a national security crisis, the public often demands stronger policies. At the same time, underreporting is equally powerful. Take the example of climate change. Despite overwhelming scientific consensus, the media in the US has been criticized for not covering the issue consistently, allowing political inertia to continue. Research shows that only 53% of people in the US think climate change is a major threat, largely due to the media's inconsistent reporting. The concept of framing also plays a critical role here. The way a story is framed, whether it's a recession or a market correction, can alter how we perceive the situation. Framing helps decide which aspects of an issue are emphasized and which are minimized. Through framing, media shapes the political narrative without overtly telling you how to feel. Chapter 2: Spin Doctors, The Art of Creating Political Perception. Media manipulation goes beyond what stories are told, it's about how they're told. Politicians hire spin doctors to craft a public image that can withstand scandals and controversies. Spin is about managing public perception, not necessarily telling the full truth. Take the example of former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. His media strategy during the Iraq War was a classic case of spin. By focusing heavily on the war on terror narrative, Blair framed the invasion as necessary for global security. Despite evidence later showing that Iraq had no weapons of mass destruction, the media's portrayal of the conflict as a moral imperative gave Blair political cover for years. According to research from the Pew Research Center, 70% of political ads during election cycles rely on negative spin. They often focus on a rival's flaws rather than a candidate's strengths. Negative ads are 10 times more likely to be remembered by viewers, making them a powerful tool in shaping political opinion. This kind of manipulation aims to distract voters from important issues by focusing on the personal failings of political opponents. One of the most famous spin tactics is the redirection strategy. When a political figure is caught in a scandal, the spin doctors work quickly to shift the narrative. If a candidate is accused of corruption, media spin can shift the conversation toward the candidate's achievements, or they may attack their opponent's character instead. A spin doctor's job isn't just about words, it's about creating a lasting image. Think about the tough guy persona often used by politicians. Ronald Reagan's media consultants famously constructed his image as the great communicator, an identity that stuck with voters, despite his complex policies. This image shaped his presidency, making him seem more approachable and likable. Spin isn't only for politicians. Media outlets themselves can be spin doctors. CNN, for example, has often been accused of favoring certain political parties by selecting stories that align with their agenda. A study from the University of California found that certain news outlets portray similar events differently, depending on their ideological stance, subtly shaping viewers' opinions. Chapter 3: Fake News versus the Real Agenda. Exposing media's hidden biases. Fake news is a term that has gained immense popularity, but it's not just a buzzword, it's a strategy. The term is often used to dismiss stories that don't align with certain political viewpoints. However, it also serves as a smokescreen, allowing certain outlets to push their own biases without being questioned. A 2018 study by Stanford University found that nearly 60% of news stories could be considered biased, either through omission or slant. This is because journalists, often unknowingly, bring their own biases into the stories they cover. This bias can be political, economic, or ideological, and it subtly influences how information is presented to the public. For instance, when covering economic policies, media outlets often focus on the impact on the rich, neglecting the working class. This bias in coverage leads to political polarization, as people are exposed to vastly different versions of reality. Research by the Media and Democracy Project found that 80% of Americans think news outlets show a political bias, which makes it difficult for voters to make informed decisions. In 2016, the New York Times published an article claiming that fake news helped Donald Trump win the presidency. It wasn't just the spread of false stories, but also the media's role in amplifying divisive content that contributed to the political divide. Sensational headlines often prioritize conflict, while ignoring nuance or offering balanced viewpoints. One significant consequence of media bias is how it distorts public opinion. A 2019 Gallup poll revealed that only 41% of Americans have a high level of trust in the media. This distrust is largely due to the perception that media outlets are more interested in ratings and clicks than presenting objective truths. The 24/7 news cycle plays into this. With constant pressure to fill airtime, outlets often resort to sensationalism or incomplete reporting to maintain viewer attention. This environment creates a fertile ground for misinformation and propaganda, where the public can't always distinguish fact from fiction. If you're finding this eye-opening, make sure to subscribe and stay updated with more insights into how media manipulates political narratives. Chapter 4: Echo Chambers. How media reinforces our political beliefs. One of the biggest challenges in modern politics is the echo chamber effect. An echo chamber is a media environment where people are exposed only to information that confirms their existing beliefs, creating a cycle of reinforcement. According to a 2017 study by the Pew Research Center, 64% of U.S. adults say that their political views are shaped by the news they consume. This means the media doesn't just inform us, it helps form our opinions. Social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter are key contributors to the rise of echo chambers. In 2020, a study by the University of California found that people are more likely to follow and interact with content that aligns with their political views. As a result, they're exposed to less opposing viewpoints, making them more polarized over time. Echo chambers are dangerous because they close off opportunities for dialogue and debate. When people only hear what they want to hear, they become less open to changing their minds. A famous example is the Brexit referendum. Voters who followed certain news outlets were exposed to heavily biased content, influencing their final decision. It's not just about the facts, it's about the narrative those facts are wrapped in. The rise of partisan news outlets is also a major factor in the echo chamber effect. In the US, the success of Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN has allowed viewers to choose their preferred side of the political spectrum. A 2019 Gallup poll showed that 60% of Americans believe the media is biased, but many don't recognize that they're part of a self-reinforcing cycle. Echo chambers also make it easier for political figures to manipulate the public. By tailoring their messages to their base, they can use media to create an us versus them mentality, turning political debates into personal battles. Donald Trump famously used this strategy, creating a narrative where the media was the enemy of the people. This kept his base loyal, as they viewed him as a champion against the biased media. What's even more concerning is the rise of algorithm-driven news on platforms like YouTube and Facebook. These algorithms prioritize content that generates the most engagement, often showing users more extreme political views. A 2021 study found that YouTube's algorithm recommended extreme right-wing content more frequently than any other type of content, feeding into the echo chamber effect. Chapter 5: The Power of the Narrative. Media as a political weapon. The media isn't just a passive observer of politics, it's an active participant in creating the stories that shape our world. The concept of narrative framing explains how political messages are constructed and delivered through media. A political narrative isn't just about presenting facts, it's about crafting a story that supports a particular viewpoint. Take the media's portrayal of the 2008 financial crisis. While the general public blamed the banks, media narratives often focused on the irresponsible behavior of homeowners. By framing the issue this way, they shifted attention away from the systemic problems in the banking industry, distracting from the root causes of the crisis. Narrative framing is a powerful tool in political campaigns as well. In the 2016 US election, Hillary Clinton's campaign used the narrative of breaking the glass ceiling to appeal to female voters, while Donald Trump used the narrative of draining the swamp to tap into anti-establishment sentiment. Both narratives helped define their respective campaigns, framing the candidates as symbols of change and hope. According to the book Manufacturing Consent by Edward S. Herman and Noam Chomsky, the media often serves the interests of powerful political and economic elites, shaping narratives that benefit them. This can be seen in how the media covered the Iraq War, where many outlets promoted the idea that the invasion was justified, despite doubts over the presence of weapons of mass destruction. The power of narrative is not limited to politics, it extends to social issues as well. For instance, media coverage of immigration often frames immigrants as either criminals or victims, creating a binary narrative that limits public understanding of the complexities involved. By controlling the narrative, media outlets can influence how people view issues like immigration, poverty, or climate change. The most dangerous aspect of media-driven narratives is their ability to change perceptions quickly. A 2018 study by the National Bureau of Economic Research found that media coverage of a political issue can change public opinion in as little as 1 week. This shows how powerful the media is in swaying opinions and altering the course of political events. Chapter 6, From Clickbait to Election Day, How Media Shapes Voter Behavior in Today's Digital Age, the media plays a central role in shaping how we vote. With the constant barrage of information online, it's easy for voters to become overwhelmed. But the media's ability to manipulate voter behavior goes beyond just providing information, it's about using psychology to trigger emotional reactions. The term, clickbait, has become synonymous with online media. It refers to sensational headlines that grab attention but often don't match the content. A 2020 study by the University of Oxford found that 50% of news articles on social media had misleading headlines. This kind of manipulation pulls people into consuming content that may not be accurate, shaping their opinions based on distorted facts. In political campaigns, clickbait is used to sensationalize key issues and distract voters from more important topics. For example, during the 2020 US presidential election, the media played up controversies around Joe Biden's son, Hunter, rather than focusing on more substantive policy discussions. This redirection kept voters' attention focused on drama instead of policy. Media outlets also use fear as a tool to drive voter behavior. Research by the Journal of Political Communication shows that fear-based headlines are more likely to influence voter decisions than positive messages. By focusing on threats, whether it's terrorism, crime, or economic collapse, media can create a sense of urgency that pushes people to vote a certain way. The impact of social media cannot be underestimated. In 2016, Russian interference on platforms like Facebook showed just how powerful social media can be in shaping voter behavior. The manipulation of online content helps sow division and confusion, affecting public opinion in critical swing states. A 2017 report by the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee revealed that fake news spread on social media reached millions of Americans during the election. Political ads, too, play a huge role in shaping how we vote. Negative political ads are designed to create fear and anxiety, often casting the opponent as dangerous or untrustworthy. According to a 2018 study by the Journal of Advertising, negative political ads are remembered 10 times more than positive ones, which is why they are so widely used in campaigns. What's even more disturbing is how personalized these ads have become. Platforms like Facebook and Google use data mining techniques to serve up highly targeted political ads based on users' browsing habits. This micro-targeting ensures that voters see ads that resonate with their specific fears and desires, making it easier to manipulate their behavior. If you found these insights eye-opening, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more eye-opening revelations on how the media manipulates political narratives.